really, really hard, and they execute the system, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, sir.
Trust.
He's pretty
Big trust, baby.
Hey, yes, sir.
Right on cue. Hey, right on cue. Hey, let me.
We are back on the Jumbo Set podcast. It is Wednesday, September 4th. My name is Jake Louque, and I'm joined by Spencer Nathaniel Schultz, who just walked into the frame here as we got going. You know, it was kind of a little bit of a photo finish there. Got himself a fresh haircut. He had 8 fucking whiskey sours last night, like Rick Dalton. Who knows what's going on with this guy?
Who knows what's going on? I'm fired up. I am fired up, baby. I'm excited. I'm hungover, but I am so fired up that it doesn't even matter. Week 0, week 1, Ravens kicking off the season against the Chiefs. Really fun. This episode is going to be our full annual NFL prediction. Jake and I both individually go game by game through on our own prerogative and map out what we think is going to happen. Of course, injuries, all that good stuff factors in, but man, it's here. It flew by. This offseason was quick as I can recall. It felt like we were not without football very long. College football obviously gives us that nice week 0, week 1 palette to get us going. Had some fun games already in there, some fun bets, all that good action. And now, man, the fantasy drafts are all pretty much wrapped up here. Might have one today if you're listening to this. Maybe you're like me and you like to do it as close as possible to week 1, but it's time. Everybody buckle up, buckaroos. It's football time.
You've been popping off on X lately. You're very horny about this season. Interesting.
I am. I'm really excited for this season. Again, kind of running it back. Ravens add Henry, Kirk Cousins to the Falcons, Saquon to the Eagles, Caleb Williams enters the league, a couple things like that, but it's kind of just let's do football again. And of course, the Ravens ended their season with the Chiefs. They get to start it with the Chiefs this time and see if we can continue to build towards that excellent kind of rivalry that the NFL is thirsty for. And I've seen some takes floating around. I think Marcus Spears said today, which, you know, it's ESPN stuff, but he said that Mahomes is like LeBron and Lamar's like KD. And if there was no LeBron, then KD would be viewed as like the best ever. And, you know, I think that's basketball is a little different with the star power and stuff like that. But I like that. I like Lamar being KD. And guess what? KD won a title.
Yeah, it's a good comparison. I mean, Mahomes has been in the Super Bowl, every single year in the league that he's been here, except for 2. So he's there every year. He wins it pretty much every other year. So yeah, he's kind of sucking up a lot of the oxygen here as far as the other quarterbacks go. I made the point in the group chat today that, like, if he was like a 10 or like 15% worse than he is, like, the league would be probably more compelling from a parity standpoint. I think it is compelling to have a guy this good, a guy that is well on his way, I think, to being the best of all time. But yeah, if you're a fan of one of these other teams and one of these other quarterbacks, you know, there's a lot of talk about Joe Burrow and how he's, you know, made his own kind of myth here, but he's only ever made a Super Bowl. He's never won one. Josh Allen, he's had a ton of heartbreak in the playoffs. I know he's had more quote unquote playoff success in terms of wins and losses than Lamar and I think even Burrow. But yeah, overall, I mean, it just like it really does feel like Mahomes is kind of a hydrogen bomb or whatever those bombs are that suck the oxygen out of the air and just completely has made the league his own here a little bit. But we'll get into more of that with predictions, I suppose. But yeah, things heating up towards that first game. We'll have our preview out on, I think maybe we could go live Wednesday or have it come out Thursday during the day or something like that. But we'll do a full preview show on that. We'll talk all about Roquan Smith's comments about shutting down the run and making them one-dimensional. Sounds like we've got the keys to the game locked up here. Nobody was angered by those comments. Nobody in Kansas City in particular. None of those fans who aren't insecure and, you know, don't, you know, try to be the underdog at every single conceivable turn, even though they were born on third base. They were born on home fucking plate, really, is what they were born on. And yeah, everything's great. We're very much looking forward to this week 1 game.
It is all peachy and rosy in Jake's mind, very much so. You're feeling.
They're like, this is not like, dude. Think about the Patriots fans. Like, they annoyed the living hell out of me. But one thing I respected about them is there were just no quarter in their mind. They were never the underdogs. They were always the favorites. They sneered down their noses at you. They were the sneering imperialists, and they would stomp you out a lot of the time. And when they didn't, they would just shrug their shoulders and say, "Oh, whatever. We're still the best. We'll be back next year." Chiefs fans and a lot of these Chiefs people, they need to find an edge. They need to be the underdogs, and I really don't get it. Just enjoy your success. You're on a throne of ease here.
The Chiefs have never been good, so they're still not used to it.
I guess
Boston fans have the Celtics and the Red Sox and all of that has happened, so that contributes to that sneering. But Chiefs fans, whatever, they are new to greatness. So
we're on year 7 of this thing. It's time to start looking down your noses at everyone. It's time to start, sitting up on the high horse,
got the star power. They've got, Travis Kelce's got a fucking $3 billion podcast deal with his superstar wife and zany hairier brother, and Mahomes is on every commercial. I definitely concur. Like, just chill, just enjoy yourselves. Don't be worried. So we'll get into all that. Whatever. Enjoy themselves however they want. I don't give a shit about Chiefs fans.
I get it. Listen, you're just too you're too excited for football. You love it so much. You're so fired up about it. And you know what? Listen, I am too. But I have my
aren't even in form yet. The Twitter's not even. No one's lubed up ready to go. I don't think this season. This season felt like it went really quickly and got right back to football. I feel like I haven't been about football very much, but I think the nation is kind of asleep on football right now because again, there wasn't this big mix-up across the league. So
that's true. Yeah. It wasn't a super eventful offseason. You're right about that.
So I think people are asleep at the wheel. The fantasy is kicking into gear. Suddenly my phone's buzzing. Everyone asks me questions about fantasy drafts and crap like that. So I think this first game is going to shock people awake. And I think that folks are a little asleep at the wheel. We're like COVID. Last year was still kind of fallout of COVID, a little tiny bit of, that weird season that went down. And I think excitement was a little higher because of that and things of that nature. And then again, this year kind of running it back. So maybe you're not as awake, but man, I mean, we'll talk about Derrick Henry. We'll talk about this defense. We'll talk about, of course, Lamar Jackson, all those things. Before we get into, you're talking about Josh Allen. Josh Allen losing to the Bengals at home, getting his dick beat in, is never talked about. They they snuck past the Skylar Thompson Dolphins and then got destroyed by Joe Burrow and the Bengals in Buffalo. And then they beat the Steelers this year.
Yeah.
Okay. And lose to the Chiefs. So,
yeah.
Okay. Like that's what's happened in the last couple of years.
Yep. He beat a Phillip Rivers on the Colts, a couple other, couple other
And when you say he beats, this is my take that I wanted to get in quickly as well. When you pay the quarter, I think I might have said this last week, but again, I want to reiterate. My new take is that when you pay the quarterback 20% of your cap, quarterback wins are a thing. If your quarterback has a contract that starts with a $200 million, quarterback wins are a thing.
It's always the same people that are like, that get very cute about the quarterback wins. These are all also the same people that are, that are super into the positional value stuff. Like quarterbacks are easily the most important position on the field. It would stand to reason that they're at least, a significant portion of wins should be attributed to them. So yeah, it's not like a 1-to-1, like black and white quarterback wins do or don't matter. But I think you're right about that. Like if you're the guy, if you get paid like the guy, then they're kind of on you. Like the Dolphins are going to start feeling that with Tua a little bit, I think, where if they start to sneak back towards the pack, I think you might have some questions about him. And yeah, I think it all goes hand in hand.
So let's look at that. Maybe that's a little bit of a story here to kick us off as we're going to get into the predictions and go through the divisions and the Ravens and things like that. We now have Joe Burrow, $275 million contract, Jordan Love, $220 million contract, Trevor Lawrence, $275 million, Tua, $212, Goff, $212, Herbert, $262, Lamar, $260, Jalen Hurts, $250, Kyler Murray, $230, Deshaun Watson, $230, Kirk Cousins, $180, Mahomes, $450, Josh Allen, $258. I'll throw Stafford. Dak is like in flux right now, but he's paid. Daniel Jones is paid. Aaron Rodgers is paid. Derek Carr is paid. Baker Mayfield is paid. Geno Smith is paid. This is the era of the paid quarterback. There have never been this many quarterbacks paid like that. In this iteration of football, maybe, go to the 90s, whatever, I don't care. But that is kind of what I'm going to dub this year. It's the big money quarterback year. Everybody paid quarterbacks for so long. It was, rookie quarterback contract or Tom Brady. That's how you win a Super Bowl. That's not the case anymore. Hasn't been the deal. Stafford paid. Mahomes paid. So I think we're in the era of the paid quarterback, and this is the year of the big money QB.
Yeah, and I think it's all about finding ways to build teams around that now, and we'll see if the league maybe even shifts their rules towards that kind of thing and making quarterbacks a different value as far as salary cap. I could see something like that happen because you're right. It's kind of like it's not even like all or nothing anymore. It's just like if you're going to convince yourself that you've got all, even if you don't. Like you are going to pay a Tua, you are going to pay some of these guys that are a little bit more middling because it's better to convince yourself that you have a chance than not. If you're a general manager and you're trying to hold on to your job, you'd much rather go for that 10-win ceiling and try to do that every year than crash out and try to get the quarterback, unless of course you're at the beginning of a rebuild. So a lot goes into it. And I think you're right. The league's there definitely has been a sea change here as the quarterbacks have gotten paid so much.
There has been. So with that, do you want to dive into this?
Yeah, let's dive right in.
All right, awesome. Let's do it. We're going to start with the AFC North. We usually kind of finish with the Ravens. We want to cuck you guys, keep you around a little longer, make you listen, whatever. But we're going to flip it on its head this year. So we're going to start with the AFC North. I will have you lead us off, Jake. Go ahead.
Okay, AFC North. I have the Bengals winning it at 11-6. They go 4-2 in the division. They get the 4th seed. Second place in the division are your Baltimore Ravens at 10-7. They also go 4-2 in the division. I have them sweeping the Steelers this year. That was a big one for me. But yeah, only one game behind the Bengals there. I had them splitting the series with the Bengals. So if they had won one more game, if it does come down to that, maybe they would get the title there. I'm not totally sure how that math shook out, but they sneak into the playoffs as a 7th seeded wild card. And then I had the Steelers 5-12, 1-5 within the division. Browns, I had 4. Anything about like doing predictions for teams, like record predictions, you just look at a team and you say, oh, well, they're gonna, they'll go 9-8, they'll go 10-7. But a lot of it to me, it does come down to schedule, and I think the Browns kind of do have a tough one. And just looking at some of the matchups, there are certain games where, like, if this Deshaun Watson thing continues to be a problem for them, let's say his shoulder is still banged up, let's say he faces more injury issues, it's already kind of not looked great. I know that he did have a good starting record last season. I think he might have been 5-1 or something like that in games that he played. So it could be just kind of one of those teeter-totter seasons where, like, if everything breaks right, I could very much see them getting to 10 wins. But the way that it just shook out, I had them at 4-13, which, like I said, didn't really feel right. Didn't feel like that's how it's going to shake out, but that's just the way that it did. So Bengals 4th seed, 11-6. Ravens 7th seed, 10-7. Steelers 5-12. Brownies 4-13. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm floored to hear the Browns you have sitting there at 4-13. I think that we saw them be as bad as they can be, and they're still a dangerous team. Like you said, Sean Watson, they can beat anybody.
Yeah, they definitely can. I do kind of feel like they had a little bit of a magic carpet ride last season. I feel like they had an easy schedule down the stretch. Flacco had a Linsanity run, but like again, they were playing some cupcake teams too, I think. And ultimately, it's one of those things where there are a couple, a handful of teams every year where they're either a little bit worse or much worse than you expected. So this is something that I could see happening, but I don't know. That roster is probably just too good for that math to shake out the way that it did. But I fooled around with this a few times, and like I said, I had them probably at like 9-8 when I first started messing around with it, that kind of range. But yeah, wound up there. So sorry to cut you off there. If you have any more thoughts on the old shakeout here.
No, you're good. Yeah, I'm surprised to hear that. I'm pretty bullish on the Bengals as well. Last year, the Bengals were very interesting with their defense being so atypically poor. And this is that unit is going to define them. Their offense will be good. They were playing well before Joe Burrow went down, but Lou Anarumo's defense was not what it has been over the last couple of years. And I did talk about a little bit on Twitter today. You're going to have to beat Mahomes. It rolled right into New Brady. You have to beat Mahomes in order to play in the Super Bowl. In order to win the Super Bowl, you have to beat Mahomes if you're an AFC team. And I mean, most likely, I would say that happens 5 out of 6 years. The champion that is not the Chiefs. The next 6 times the Chiefs don't win, you'll probably have to beat them 5 of those 6 times in order to proceed. So they're pretty much going to be in the AFC Championship almost every year. We go look at that unit. They had DJ Reader. DJ Reader is now gone. So they have Sheldon Rankins and BJ Hill inside, which is interesting. The linebacker's still there. They do bring Geno Stone over. A lot of buzz about Dax Hill, who was a first-round pick out of Michigan a couple years ago. Cam Taylor-Britt, Mike Hilton's still there. Von Bell back there. Trey Hendrickson, who got hurt last year as well. So I think this unit is in a weird pickle, and that was the unit that propelled them to being so damn good. In terms of what I had the division playing out: Ravens 14-3, 4-2 in the division; Bengals 13-4, 4-2 in the division; Browns 9-8, just missing the postseason; Steelers 8-9. Browns go 1-5 in the division. Steelers go 3-3 in the division. So the Bengals are interesting. I mean, Joe Burrow has that feistiness. All of the crazy Twitter doctors that I like to follow for entertainment, as well as some learned experiences. A lot of them think his wrist is really bad, and they claim that when that happens to a pitcher, they can't squeeze the fastball for a while, or they squeeze the breaking ball for a while. So
our guy, Dr. Chow, you getting deep on some Chow content?
Oh, I'm a Chow head. Love the chowder, but yeah, we just talked about this division, and what did we just talk about, Jake? The year of the paid quarterback. There's 3 really highly paid ones in this division. Russell Wilson does have a notable contract. Justin Fields a very high pick, so there's very much name brand value in this division. So that's kind of what I've tried to roll with. I've been anti saying football boils down to the quarterback, but I think the league really has gotten to a place, and really college football too. It is so quarterback centric. Any given Sunday is a thing. Mahomes can lose to any team, in the regular season, whatever. But I just keep finding myself betting on quarterbacks and wanting to take quarterback head coach combos, and that's kind of what it is. And I don't love Zach Taylor. I do really like Joe Burrow a lot. I think he is a strong competitor. I think he is incredibly intelligent. Lamar Jackson, at this point, we have such a large sample size, and we're talking about quarterback wins. You said 10-7. I get it. You can get into the offensive line is where I feel like your head's at. You've talked about that a good bit throughout the offseason.
Yeah.
Lamar just wins a lot of games. So you've
got him 14-3. So we're pretty far apart there. That's a 4-win difference.
Yeah, it's definitely a stark difference. And
do you have your
offensive line? I think is going to struggle early on for the Ravens. I think there will be bumps, bruises. That happens. Continuity. Joe D, rest in peace. Losing their coach on top of it, that's in the process of developing, having to bring someone else in. I'm sure, not that this is as important as Joe D's life and his legacy and his family and everything, but they are down a coach. They are down a very important coach, and one that had a lot of autonomy within Harbaugh's tree and the organization. If you go to a Ravens practice, Joe D was on his own. Harbaugh's not over with the offensive line. Like, Joe D runs that shit. So now they bring in a new coach whose name's escaping me. He was on the Texans most recently. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Do you have your predictor in front of you, by the way? I figure we can go through. Yeah, let's do that after this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't find who they hired. Let's see. George Warhop. There we go.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm unfamiliar. No, nothing bad, nothing good. I don't know. So yeah, tough. Ronnie Stanley, has only had Joe D. He's had some heartfelt posts, things like that. But that's a lot of change. It's not just the players, it's the coach as well. And I do think Lamar Jackson needs to be able to recognize that he has to have the training wheels on, and that he might need to call in a Mark Andrews to chip and an Isaiah Likely to chip. And they might want to use Pat Ricard a little bit heavily in this season, and, keeping backs back, things like that early on. They need to have the training wheels on over the first month with the offensive line. But, Mike McDonald was a big loss, but I do kind of feel like everything we've heard is that it really kind of almost is Roquan Smith's defense in many ways. And I think that was the case as well. That's what they paid him to do. He kind of, dictates that defense. I don't think there's going to be some huge fall off. Defense is unpredictable year over year. It is very volatile. Like we just talked about the Bengals, but ultimately I am bullish on the Ravens. I'm bullish on Lamar Jackson. Their schedule was not scary to me as I was going through there. There wasn't a lot of games where I was like, oh, geez, that's a tough one. Eagles at home, there's some interesting ones, but I was not super overwhelmed by the Ravens schedule as I was playing it out.
Let's go through it. So we'll give our more in-depth predictions tomorrow for the first game. But for the first game, I have them losing to the Chiefs. What do you have in that one?
I had them beating the Chiefs week 1. I am confident in the Ravens week 1, and they're kind of hungry. The Chiefs kind of they have been really good week 1. Last year they didn't have Kelsey. They played the Lions. They start pretty strong, but the Ravens start really, really, really strong too. So I like the prospects of the Ravens getting in.
Versus Raiders, I have them winning that one, 1-1.
I have them 2-0 there.
Yeah. Okay. What do we got in week 3 here? Where
Cowboys, I had 3-0.
Cowboys, I have them losing that one, so that's 1-2 for me. Week 4 versus Bills, I have them winning that one, 2-2.
I have them 4-0 at that point.
Okay. At Bengals, I have them losing that one, 2-3.
I have them losing that one as well.
Okay. I've got them in week 6, beating the Commies at home, 3-3.
Yup. Commies at home. Then they go play the Bucks on Monday night. I have them winning both of those.
I gave them that one, 4-3.
I have them beating the Browns.
I had them losing that one. I have them losing that one to the 4-13 Browns.
Broncos the following week in Baltimore. I have the Broncos going 0-17.
Really?
Yeah, we'll get
That's
there.
interesting. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have them beating the Broncos. I have them beating the Bengals at home. I have them losing, or no, I have them beating the Steelers the next week on the road. I have them, are they playing this week? Let's see. This is week 12. That's probably their bye because I'm not seeing them.
Yeah, I have them beating the Bengals at home. I have them losing to the Steelers. I have them
at Chargers week
beating
12.
the Chargers. I have them beating the Eagles at home.
I have them losing to the Chargers. I have them beating the Eagles at home. I have them.
Then they're a bye in week 14. They do have the super late bye, of course. They play the Giants.
They always get a late bye. I have them losing to the Giants. They always get the latest bye in the world, losing to the Giants.
And then week 17, I have them losing to the Texans. I think I had them lose to the Bengals, the Texans, and there's one more in there. I don't remember.
Yeah, so they beat the Steelers, and then they lose to the Texans, and then
I think I had them lose. They split with the Steelers, split with the Bengals, lose to the Texans. Those were the three losses I had.
Week 18, they lose to the Browns. So I think I actually wrote down in my notes. So they get off to it's a 2-3 start. Then they're at 4-5, and then they finish strong for 10-7. So that's where my head is at. And yeah, it's offensive line. It's a little bit of uncertainty on defense. I think everyone, my brother makes this point a lot. Everyone loves Mike Macdonald now, but a little bit of a rocky start there with Mike Macdonald when it first started out. And Zach Orr is a young guy, not a ton of experience. I think he will round into form, but I think there will be some growing pains. I like the way that I summarized it is that I think this will be kind of a rebuild on the fly year. I think we're going to see a little bit of that from the Bills, although I do expect the Bills' record to actually be kind of strong, but it's just sort of like you talk about paying the quarterback. I think when you do pay a quarterback, you do sometimes you're not ever just going to punt on a year, but you do have to have some years where you take your lumps and try to, transition into new eras. We see them today restructuring contracts for Roquan Smith. They restructured Nnamdi Madubuike's contract. They restructured Justin Tucker's a little bit to move some money around. So they're at, operable cap space, like $9 million right now. So it's just, I think it's going to be one of those years. I think it's people maybe will be frustrated. We'll get into what they wind up doing in the playoffs with my predictions here ultimately. But overall, I think it's just going to be kind of a retooling season in the way that I look at it.
I don't know if I agree with retooling. They really didn't. I mean, I think the Ravens defense, what did they lose? They lost a coach. They lost Patrick Queen, Jadeveon Clowney. I do think they might regret letting Jadeveon Clowney go, but that's really, it. Kevin Zeitler, there's some uncertainty on the offensive line. We'll see who ends up starting. Ben Cleveland, Falele. I would assume Voorhees maybe at left guard there, but a lot has been retained. The offensive coordinator's retained. Zay Flowers, Ronnie Stanley, Tyler Linderbaum, your kind of two core pieces there. Mark Andrews is back and healthy, likely.
With this offensive line.
Aguilar, so they just add Henry to that group. So, if you have one group, one room that has change on each side of the ball, that's okay. It's okay to have one room that's a little fresh.
Yeah, I'm with it. I just have visions of Matt Burke retires, and then it's like, you know what? We're just going to trot out Gino Gradkowski out there, and he's going to learn along the way. And just for 16 weeks at the time, he was a revolving door. I think that has a chance to happen with at least one of these guys, and if it does, that's probably an issue. But they do have options, and we'll see if
they took the volume approach to the offensive line. They brought in a lot of guys. They
threw darts at the board. I'll give them
a lot. They definitely took a volume approach. It's going to take some time to iron out, but your quarterback is a veteran and should be able to mitigate a lot of that. And we've saw Brady, get away with them being a little cheaper on the offensive line at times, especially later. And some of these veteran quarterbacks, you got to be able to make life easy. And again, Lamar Jackson, being the athlete that he is, does make life a little bit easier, especially as in the pass rush department. You can't run by him or you won't catch him. So I think that does alleviate some of those pains. And ultimately, again, going through the schedule here, I just didn't feel like it was daunting. I didn't feel like it was there was no stretch where I was like, oh, geez, that's tough. That's really, really, really tough. They do have some primetime games. They do, have a little bit of short rest here and there, but they do have a big rest advantage in general. When you're filling this out on playoffpredictor.com, it gives you the little bed if you have a rest advantage, and the Ravens had that a lot. So I think Derrick Henry is vastly impactful. Again, we kind of talked about it. We've previewed from the 53-man roster. If Zay Flowers goes down, I think that 10-7 is a lot more, probable. But I think as long as you can kind of keep any modicum of health with like Flowers, Henry, Lamar, and I'll say Stanley and Linderbaum, if those kind of 5 guys can stay healthy, I think that you're in a really good spot. And yeah, I mean, Allen, Burrow, Mahomes, Jackson, they cruise through games. I mean, they don't really have a lot of losing streaks and 1 in 3 months, things like that. Maybe, one of those guys will have one bad month, the other 3 are playing well. It's just not really the case. They definitely can beat anyone at any point in time. And I just, again, wasn't very overwhelmed by the schedule. The late bye can be tough. Injuries could definitely pile up in the middle of the year there and some of those things. But then it's like they get it's like Chargers, Broncos, some of these teams. I was just like, oh, geez, they kind of can roll there through the middle of their season. So, yeah, you had them sweeping the Steelers, I think you said. I think that's a big deal. That Steelers team has given them a lot of troubles. So, got to win one. We say it every year that it's time for Lamar to have his breakout game.
Maybe
now
I'm
it's not fool me once. It's like fool me 15 times at this point. It just hasn't happened to have his number.
I might be overcorrecting. They might need to just beat them once to expunge some demons here because it's been a rough stretch against the old Steelers.
The guy at SB Nation, Jarrett Bailey or whatever his name is, like I think
the knockoff brand Pat McAfee or whatever the fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I think, Lamar Jackson's overrated. And I was like, honestly, Steelers fans probably think that because Steelers fans are a weird group of people and they are very dedicated and loyal to watching the Steelers. And when you watch the Steelers Ravens, Lamar has not been that great. I mean,
that guy also
receivers, but
that guy also has a tweet from every single year talking about some, schlub, quarterback in the draft that's going to be better than Lamar Jackson. It's Trey Lance. It's this person. He probably throws Taysom Hill in there at some point. Like, we get it, dude. You're a Steelers fan. Like,
exactly.
Just get over it.
Exactly. So, yeah, Ravens, I think, roll. I think they roll. I think that they'll be in contention for that bye. I did have them getting the bye. I did have them as the 1 seed.
So their 3 losses were Bengals and who else?
I had Bengals, Steelers, and the Texans in week 17. I had them losing to the Texans.
Okay. 1 seed. Wow. Look at you. 2 1 seeds in a row for them.
I mean, shit, man. If Lamar's healthy, they've won it twice. They won 11 games the other year that he was healthy. Sure. So I think that's kind of I think 11 wins is kind of their floor with Lamar Jackson and the wheels that he has now to roll on with Todd Monken's offense and these tight ends, these backs, these receivers. It's a well-balanced attack that they should have. And we're curious to see what their personnel usage is. It did definitely feel like last year they wanted to force growth by running 11 personnel and getting a little bit more comfortable in those situations and that personnel and that usage. But they were the most efficient team in the NFL out of, 21, 12, all that good stuff. So I think we see them lean back into that a little bit more. They kind of lost Odell, didn't really necessarily replace him. Not that he was like setting the world on fire, but he was a heavy rotational player. And yeah, they bring it back instead. And Andrews, likely, Kohler, Ricard. That's a lot of what they're going to do. So I think that they are in a very good spot for where defense is and the ability to have, they're at the cutting edge of defense because of Mike McDonald in many ways, because of a Kyle Hamilton and a Roquan Smith and paying the middle of their defense. Nandi Madubuike, Michael Pierce, Travis Jones, Trenton Simpson, Roquan Smith, Marcus Williams, Eddie Jackson, all those guys through the middle, Mollett, who is out for the time being, but all of those inside guys are talented. They are built that way. That is how the NFL is, and they are talented center, tight end, running back, quarterback, right up the gut. So I think that they are in a great spot in terms of what is working in the NFL right now with Kyle Shanahan and Ben Johnson and, some of these attacks. We've seen the Chiefs shift into that a little bit more too, being a little heavier. They do go get some receivers this year. But I think the Ravens are right at the top of personnel and usage, and what they're looking to do is what good teams are doing. The Texans with Louque as well, you'll throw in there. So I'm very intrigued by the Ravens' ability to get to the playoffs again and fight for, again, another bye. And I am biased as a Ravens fan, but I will say buys count as wins. If someone else's team gets a bye is a playoff win. The Orioles last year, they didn't have to play in the wild card. So that's a win. So hopefully they're able to get up there again. Again, Bengals, I had 13-4 right there with them. They did split with the Bengals. Browns 9-8, Steelers 8-9. So that's how I had the AFC North shaken out.
Cool. All right, moving on. To the AFC East. I had the Buffalo Bills A lot of people a little bit down on them this year. I thought I was going to be. I think we talk about quarterbacks mattering a lot. I look at a division that has Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. We'll see what we get out of him this year. Tua, I think we kind of know what he is, for better and for worse. And Patriots, they're really rebuilding here with Drake May and with Jake Brisket starting off the year. So I had the Bills winning the division at 11-6. They go 4-2 inside the division.
I had the identical thing on the Bills.
Yep, they were the 3 seed for me. I had the Dolphins in second in this division. They get the 6 seed, 10-7, 4-2 within the division. Jets 9-8. They just miss out 3-3 within the AFC East. Patriots I had at 2-15 and 1-5. I am just not seeing anything to like with this Patriots team right now. I think they just want to get some good football out of Drake May, maybe, in the second half of the season, and then we're moving on to 2025.
Certainly. I had the Patriots at 1-16, the Dolphins at 8-9, missing the playoffs. I had the Jets at 11-6, tied with the Bills. Jets get the 7 seed, the final spot, and the Bills get the 3 seed. Just like you, I had them 11-6, 4-2 in the division, 3 seed, same exact thing. Reason I took the Jets here, I really don't love the prospect of Aaron Rodgers' health, but I intentionally do try to shake things up from the prior year because typically there is always 2 new playoff teams in each conference at a minimum and 1 new division winner in each league. So I was kind of like, all right, I have to pick the Jets here. The teams I kind of looked at in that category were the Jags, the Jets, and the Chargers. Those are kind of the 3. Raiders a little bit. Those are kind of the 3-4 teams that I was like, all right, 2 of them probably have to make the playoffs. That's usually how it goes here. Bengals making the playoffs too, so that would be a shakeup from last year as well.
I love the idea of the Jets being good this year. I think it would be so much fun. Aaron Rodgers, I some of the stuff the guy says and does, I'm not super into, but he's a fascinating character to me. I've always loved his play on the field, so that would be a lot of fun. And it'll be fun for long-suffering Jets fans, like all these woe is me Browns fans and some of these underrated, franchises where you don't really think about their fan bases and just how absolutely tortured they've been. I feel like it's not talked enough about how bad it's been for the Jets. I don't think they've made the playoffs since that Bart Scott can't wait situation. Bears are another one that I look at that are just, not talked about enough as just tortured fan bases. So that'll be a lot of fun for the Jets. And like I said, I had them at 9-8. So a couple bounces of the ball, they could probably sneak in there at some way too. So yeah, I'm praying for Rodgers to stay healthy. I think it will be a really intriguing, fun ride if they were to do that. But yeah, for me, Bills 3rd seed winning the division, Dolphins 6. Moving on to the AFC South. How'd you have this one shaken out?
I neglected another team that falls into that category. I ended up having the Colts winning this division. I had 3 teams finishing 11-6, and one of them missed the playoffs. So I had the Colts, the Jags, and the Texans in a 3-way heat at 11-6, and the Titans upside down at 6-11. I do like the Titans. I think the Titans are dangerous. I think they're going to be pushing for the playoffs. But yeah, in that same vein, I'm very bullish on Anthony Richardson. I was last year. I really like what I saw out of him in the couple games he got to play. That injury, just like Joe Burrow, both very big question marks of, is it going to change their ability to throw the football? Or is it going to be all right? Richardson, of course, not super experienced, but getting to kind of redshirt after having a couple good games, if the injury is okay, that can be a very helpful thing. Tom Brady going on a tangent last week, which I'm super fired up for him to be a commentator. I'm really excited for him to just rip everyone apart. That has been what's missing, is criticism and being critical from the kind of atmosphere that the NFL has morphed into this very echo chamber, positive place. And I think it'll be fun to have him be the contrast to Tony Romo. It's like, oh, this is all so cool, Jim. Tom's going to be like, what the fuck are they doing?
Is Tom going to be allowed, though, with the conflict of interest with him being a Raiders owner? Sounds like
he'll figure. I mean, they're getting private equity, whatever. He'll be fine. He'll figure it out. He really wants to do this. You can tell he's really excited about this. So
he's very. I was talking about this. Yeah, I was talking about this with my family. Like, yeah, the dude is just competitive. He needs something to put his energy into. It just couldn't be football. I mean, the guy arguably gave up his family to make the wild card round in his last season and then retire. And yeah, now it's like this is kind of all he's got, man. Like he's playing golf here and there. And he's hanging out with Michael Rubin and Brooks Nader and things of that nature. That's not really filling the juice for him. I think he wants to be good at this. I think he wants to shut the haters up. Who listen? I love Greg Olsen as much as the next guy, and I'm sure Tom has a healthy professional relationship with him. But he's probably hearing all that stuff about, oh, he's replacing Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen's amazing, and I agree with that. But I think Tom wants to prove something as well. So yeah. Apropos of nothing, my AFC South, I had the Texans 11-6. relatively living up to these large expectations. I think it's going to be a tough division as well. Just in terms of on the field play, I think the records maybe don't necessarily reflect that, but Texans 11-6, 5-1 within the AFC South, and the 2 seed at the Jags at 9-8. They missed the playoffs, 3-3 in the division. Colts, I had 6-11. I like Richardson too. I'm very worried about the health there. And just like having a lost season like that, I think is kind of tough for a guy who hadn't really played a ton of football to begin with. 2-4 within the division for them. And then Titans, sorry, RDT, I had them at 5-12, 2-4 within the division. It all hinges on Will Levis. I think, like, again, it just keeps coming back to the quarterback. I like what I saw from Levis last year. Like, can you play winning football? Is this new coaching staff going to be able to get that out of you? I think there might be some growing pains in year one here for them with this new regime.
Yeah, the Jaguars really stand out to me in this division. I think they're a really serious team. I'm not the most fond of maybe Doug Peterson's offense and Press Taylor's offense and decisions and ways. They definitely ask Trevor Lawrence to be they make him do 301 level stuff too much, don't help him enough. But looking around their roster, man, it is in a really strong spot. I mean, they have 2 good tackles. They've got a good tight end. I am super bullish on Brian Thomas in fantasy. I think he very well may be a league winner type of guy. I could see him having a monster season there. But what was more intriguing is the defensive side of the football. I mean, that front, they have Eric Armstead. No one's talking about that. Roy Robertson-Harris behind him. They have Travon Walker, who was awesome last year and is continuing to grow. The bookend of Travon Walker and Josh, now Hines Allen, with Devon Hamilton there. They have 3 great linebackers. They have big physical corners in Tyson Campbell. They have Cisco and Darnell Savage, who I like a lot back there on the back end. So I think they have a really strong defense. They were really good until Trevor Lawrence got hurt and played hurt. They were really fucking good last year. They had the 1 seed when he got hurt. I think they were like
Ravens were going into that game against them. I think I might have picked them to lose that one. I think that was one of the games where he got banged up, but
yeah, for sure. The Ravens hurt a lot of quarterbacks last year, which kind of has gone under the radar. So hopefully that's not some sort of weird karma that they get back. But yeah, they were rolling last year. They started out, they beat the Colts. They played a tough one against the Chiefs. They lost. The Texans kind of romped them. And then they went and crushed the Falcons. They beat the Bills. They whooped the Colts again. They beat the Saints. They beat the Steelers before finally Trevor Lawrence got hurt in that 49ers game, I believe. And they got destroyed by the 49ers there and then started to fall off a little bit more so. But yeah, by the time the Ravens got there, the Bengals had just beat them. The Browns had just beat them. They had a close one with the Texans. And then from there, they just fell apart. The Ravens whipped them. The Bucs whipped them. They beat up on the crappy Panthers. The Titans then beat them. And they went from first to missing the playoffs there. So if they can just help Trevor a little bit more, just a little bit more, taking the burden off of him. And it's kind of reminds me of Josh Allen's situation, but he's not quite that physical monster that Josh Allen is that can burden that physically. So if they can just give him a little more help, I really like their prospects this year. So they are super intriguing. I'm probably too high on the Colts, but again, I am trying to shake it up because there is usually parity in terms of making the playoffs year to year.
Yeah, I think we were both high on the Colts last year as well, if I'm remembering correctly. I think I had them winning the division, and man, I mean, Richardson looked good in that short time that he did have. Maybe a little limited, but overall, you expect him to grow in that Shane Steichen offense. I really like what that guy brings to the table. So that
really good offensive line, really good front defensively. They also have some big physical corners too. Juju Brents, who was really good last year. Jalen Jones they bring in. They have Kenny Moore still, and then some pretty dynamic safeties on the back end, and Blackman and Cross.
All right. AFC West, I had the Chiefs as the 1 seed, 13-4, 5-1 within in the division. Los Angeles Chargers, the 5th seed at 12-5, 4-2 within the division. I'm bullish on this team. I know everyone's making the old Ravens jokes with all those players going over there with Greg Roman, but Greg Roman in year 1, Jim Harbaugh in year 1 with a talent the caliber of quarterback of Justin Herbert. We probably haven't seen that with Jim Harbaugh since probably Kaepernick when he was still playing really well. And I think what they were able to do with him back in the day, I know it's been probably about 10 years since then, but I'm just really, really, really intrigued to see if they can finally have Justin Herbert, really tap into his potential. I know, some fans get frustrated with the way that the sort of nerds on Twitter talk about Justin Herbert a little bit. And I can get frustrated with that myself, but I love the guy. I love his mental makeup. I love the talent. So 12-5 is a wild card. That's pretty damn strong. Excited to see how that plays out for them. Broncos, I had 7-10. The schedule, I think, worked out a certain way, and I do think they're going to be able to get some good football out of Bo Nix. And yeah, again, just kind of a function of schedule. I really don't love a lot of the talent on their team. It feels like they are very much in rebuild mode, but for whatever reason, it shook out that way. 2-4 within the AFC West, and then I had the Raiders at 4-13 with old G Minshew there, 1-5 within the division. So,
yeah, I had this one shaking out with the Chiefs finishing 11-6, getting the 4 seed, 5-1 in the division. Chargers 9-8, Raiders 7-10. I wanted to like the Raiders a little bit more than they ended up shaking out. Broncos, I had 0-17. I don't think that's going to happen. That's not like some take that I have, but I just couldn't pick them. I just couldn't pick them in any game. I was like, no.
I had that with the Patriots, and I think I wound up maybe giving them 1 or 2 at the end there. It just, 0-16 rarely happened until the Browns did it a couple of years ago after the Lions having been the only team that had done it. This would be the first 0-17 team in NFL history.
Yeah, again, and I'm looking at, the rest of this division. Mahomes in there. Not that Minshew's, a world beater or anything, but he's a, capable quarterback enough. Justin Herbert, you mentioned as well. And there's a few, and the Broncos took Bo Nix in the first round, but there's no teams that don't have a quarterback really.
Yeah. Or at least they're convinced. Yeah. Most teams have at least talked themselves into the idea that they do have one.
The Saints are probably the one. They're excited about Rattler, a nice preseason, whatever. Sure. But, I just looked at the Broncos and was like, geez, they're playing a lot of good quarterbacks, playing a lot of good teams, and just wasn't picking up them and the Patriots, like you said, they're just kind of devoid of talent in many ways. You look at the Broncos offense, I mean, Sutton's a good player. He's solid, but they tried to trade him. I don't know. I'm also just not bought in on Sean Payton right now. Like
that's where I'm at.
So long.
It all hinges on Sean Payton's attitude. Like, is he ready to pack it in and retire and go be a commentator? I'm not necessarily sure of that. I think he's just such a salty old fucker, and like he wants to prove everyone wrong. So by the skin of his teeth, he's dragging this team to like 5.
What if Bill Parcells in there in some ways? I think
he's a Parcells guy too, so that would make sense. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he is. So yeah, I think he's kind of he's just the old salty dog is still hanging on, and I think he's by hook or by crook. He's going to drag them to like I said, 5 or 7 wins here. I had him at 7, which is probably a little
not like the Russell Wilson situation. I don't think that good coaches would act that way, and what organizations would treat someone like that. So I am just turned off on the Broncos. Chargers don't have a great roster. They have Ladd McConkey, who's already banged up and was banged up in college as their like wide receiver 1. All the buzz on Quentin Johnston. We'll see.
I've hitched my wagon to Quentin Johnston and Ladd McConkey in a way that is making me very nervous. I'll say that. But yeah, I think
that because of Herbert, I looked at 2 teams that are in a similar category to me in the league this year, and it's the Chargers and the Cardinals, where it's like Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert are good and talented, but have not been winners to this point. They have not been winning football games and delivering that kind of consistency. Maybe that's more of a reflection than the organization, but I feel like I ended up having them in a similar spot. We'll get there, but they're very interesting, and I'm curious to see. You mentioned Harbaugh. I do love Harbaugh, of course. The Herbert having a run game should make it a lot better and easier, and it's not them fucking throwing to Austin Eckler 100 times and all that bullshit. But it should be adults in the room very much more so. But AFC is just fucking tough. It's just a beast of a conference.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, I think. And 12-5 might be a touch optimistic, but like I said, it's the way the schedule shook out, and just I don't know, man. Everywhere Jim Harbaugh goes, he wins games. He burns out relationships within the building, and he's gone within 5 years, but you're probably going to have a lot of on-the-field success. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm just very, very excited to see, to your point, Justin Herbert in a room with real adults that are not going to lose you games. It's not going to be Brandon Staley, going for it in certain spots where it's a little questionable. I think the clock management will be better. I think, like you said, the run game, taking pressure off of him, J.K. Dobbins maybe having a little bit of a breakout season at long last. And Gus Edwards is going to score 24 touchdowns. So there you go.
There we go. That wraps it up for the AFC there.
Yep.
My playoff team's coming out of the AFC before we flip to the NFC. I had Ravens at the 1 seed, Colts at the 2 seed. That's not going to happen. Stupid. But Colts at the 2 seed.
These playoff predictors, man. It's like when you just look at a team, you could just say a record, but when you got to pick every single game, it just works out differently.
Yeah, Bills 3rd seed, 11-6. The 4 was the Chiefs there at 11-6. I had so many teams finish 11-6. Oh my god. Had the Colts, Jags, Chiefs, Jets, Bills, all finishing 11-6. The Texans miss out 11-6. There's like 7 teams there, so definitely not loving all those 11-6s. But yeah, those are my teams. I had the Texans, pardon me, just missing. They'll probably make it. But the Dolphins
that would really, God, that would warm my heart if the Texans were to miss the playoffs. That would bring a nice fuzzy, tingly feeling to me, because these teams where it's the second year quarterback and everyone's all hot.
It's Jordan Love. The Packers and the Texans have all the hype in the world right now.
Yeah, nothing just bothers me more than that. I don't know why, but yeah, that would be fantastic. So I got the Chiefs as the 1 seed, 13-4. Texans as the 2 at 11-6. Bills as the 3 at 11-6. Bengals as the 4, also at 11-6. I'm a big 11-6 boy as well. Chargers the 5 at 12-4. Dolphins the 6 at 10-7, and the Baltimore Fighting Ravens the 7 seed at 10-7.
There we go. NFC. Let's start with the NFC East. I had it shaking out with the Eagles, the 1 seed, 13-4, undefeated in their division. The Cowboys 10-7. The Commies 5-12. The Giants 4-13. The Giants, who I famously took to lose the Super Bowl last year, we did this, and boy, oh boy, did they fucking suck. So that was probably my worst thought I've ever had. Was probably on the Giants there, but yeah, I'm not super high on what's going on in Philly coaching wise, but again, they still do have so much talent. I think that the Jason Kelce stuff is very much overblown of him. You know, they drafted a perfect replacement in Cam Jurgens. Whatever, he's just a fucking center. It's not like center's an important position, but Jesus, it's not like the end of the world. They still have Landon Dickerson, who's an all-pro. They still have Jordan Mailata, who's like an all-pro. Lane Johnson, an all-pro up front. Like, they're still stocked, and now they have Saquon added to the equation with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert there. Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, and they did not have a super tough schedule. And as I was rolling through there, so I had the Eagles going there. Cowboys, I feel like, are on the, which I love for us, I feel like they're right on the edge of disaster. Like, McCarthy's done after this year. I didn't want to put them in the playoffs, but I just had to get them in there. I couldn't stop picking them.
For me, I had the Eagles as the 2 seed. I'm high on them as well. 12-5, 5-1 within the NFC East. Cowboys 10-7, 3-3 in the division. They did not make the playoffs, which really burned my ass. If they're going to go 10-7 and not make the playoffs, what are we doing? I need Dak Prescott in the first round again. I need Mike McCarthy and his big dumb face on the sidelines. I need Jerry and Steven up in the booth together, slugging Johnny Walker Blue, saying God knows what to one another. Giants, strong division. I had the Giants 8-9, 2-4 within. Commanders, same thing, 8-9, 2-4 within the division. High on Jaden Daniels. I think the Giants tread water again this year and probably have more questions walking out of this season than they do going in. They'd probably rather just tank it and move on from DJ, but it is what it is. So yeah, Eagles, again, strong roster, good quarterback. Is continuity a good thing when your coaching staff is kind of volatile like there seems to be, especially with Sirianni leading the way? I don't know. But overall, they're bringing guys back. Like you said, soft schedule, 12-5, the 2 seed. They're the only playoff team in this division, even though the Cowboys go 10-7. They're beating each other up big time in this division.
They are. The Commies, I really wanted to finish stronger. I think their offensive line is very bad, and they've Cliff Kingsbury to mitigate that with his quick game. Cliff Kingsbury has fooled me once, again, to use that phrase. We'll see. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be good. I think he might win Rookie of the Year, him or Caleb Williams. Very, very, very strong shots, too. I do like the Bears. We'll get to them. But Giants, I'm pissed at still from last year. They should have been better.
Tough. Yeah, that was tough for you.
I'm mad at them. That's the only one where I was like emotional, was like, fuck the Giants, fuck the Giants, fuck the Giants, as I was picking. They're dead to me. But Commies, I almost had the Commies kind of rising up, and I had to slow myself down and was like, okay, they played some good quarterbacks over and over and over again. But wouldn't be shocked to see them make a little bit of a run there. The new ownership, Josh Harris, getting fucking Jack Del Rio out of there. Ron Rivera's a dead man walking for so long there. So stupid. Just until they sold the team, those guys were just in purgatory. Jack Del Rio, the worst coach in the NFL the last couple of years. So fucking bad. It's such a good group. So Dan Quinn coming in there should stabilize them. I like their prospects moving forward. They just need a little bit more zest on that offense. They just didn't quite have enough, so they're going to be kind of limited. I think they'll beat like every truly bad team they play and won't beat any good teams. So I'm really looking forward to that kind of late season jaunt they have with the Bears. I hope them and the Bears are both kind of like clinging on to NFC playoff contention. That one was a fun one to think about. Yep.
Sneak one of them in. That'll be fantastic.
So yeah, we're both bullish on the Eagles, not really bullish on the rest of the division. We're kind of predicting the downfall. And Jerry's so old he might die. Cowboys are in a weird spot.
I am not talking about anyone dying on this podcast ever again, but let me tell you, that is in the back of my mind with Uncle Jerry. I want to have him around as long as possible.
Of course. Hopefully we get a few more good years out of Jerry. So yeah, that division, Eagles, everybody else, whatever. NFC North, probably one of the, I'm not going to say the most interesting division in football. Maybe JJ McCarthy added a little bit more flair there, but the Lions, of course, I was a little slow roll. I had the Lions making the playoffs last year, but I was like, I'm not quite buying into this. They ended up being the hot new thing, and it worked out. Like I've kind of shit talked the Texans a little bit. I had them 11-6, but I ended up having the Lions going 13-4. I'm bought in. They're fucking good. Their defense, when they played the Ravens last year, I ripped them apart. Their defense was so vanilla. And if they can get a little bit more exotic with that defense, which they should, they've talked about it. I've been reading the clippings on them all summer, interested what's going on over there in Detroit. Goff, obviously, getting to settle in there. So I had them at 13-4. Packers snuck into the playoffs at 9-8. They were the 7 seed. Bears just missing first one out, also 9-8. And then I had the Vikings 6-11. I had to try to give the Vikings wins because I think Kevin O'Connell is good enough that they'll be fine. I think Sam Darnold is like the 16th best quarterback in the NFL in this situation. Like he should be fine. They should be fine, but don't have them making the playoffs, not really sniffing it. And they honestly finished with more wins than I wanted them to. So Bears, I've wanted them to be like so good, but I had to relax a little bit. I was like, okay, all right. Let's not make them like, 11-6 here. But that defense should be awesome. The talent is all there. They patiently played their game. Caleb Williams is going to be really good, I think. And he has no shortage of weapons there. So I think his mobility is something that is vastly underrated, and what that does for a rookie quarterback with that kind of talent around him and how quickly you can win with the mobility that he presents and the ability to run option stuff and keep the ball, those things. So really interesting division. Ultimately, Packers snuck in 9-8. I think you and I are both kind of sniffing the Packers and are a little fishy on it.
It's funny you say that.
15-2.
12-5.
Yeah.
12-5, 3 seed, 5-1 within the division. I look at them in the Lions. Is there a big difference in talent? I don't think so. Is there a big difference in coaching staff? I don't think so. I respect both of these coaching staffs a lot. I just think Jordan Love is going to be better than Jared Goff. I think ultimately he's going to be able to do some things athletically that Goff is not able to do. I think that's going to prove to be the difference in some of these games. Probably came down to schedule a little bit too, but yeah, I had them 12-5. I think it's a breakout year for Love, and I think they've built organically around him, right? They're not going out and chasing the shiny objects and trying to build this thing up quicker than it needs to be built up. It feels like this has been a long process with Jordan Love. He's had a lot of time to kind of cook and simmer there behind Rodgers first, and then he has the breakout year last year. So yeah, I'm in on the Packers. 3 seed, 12-5, 5-1 division. Lions, I had the 6 seed at 11-6, 3-3. Still like them a lot. Like I said, probably some of it comes down to schedule, but they're retaining a lot of their guys. Like I said, I love Dan Campbell and this coaching staff. I think Jared Goff is good. He's not necessarily great. And like I said, when it comes down to quarterback versus quarterback, I will just pick the Packers in this instance. So they're 1 win ahead of the Lions. Then I had the Bears, 8-9, 3-3 within the division. I'm expecting a really fun season here, if nothing else. That maybe they'll make the playoffs, maybe they won't, but I think we're going to have a lot of fun watching little Caleb Williams. And then the Vikings, 4-13. They probably could sneak a couple extra wins in there, like you said. I am high on Kevin O'Connell. I think Sam Darnold is just fine as a backup quarterback to come in a pinch. But yeah, 4-13, 1-5 within the division. It's just going to be, it's hard. I think this is going to be a tough division. You're going to be, like I said, I got them going 1-5 within it. And the NFL is just tough to win without plus quarterback play. And Sam Darnold is not going to be that dude, I don't think.
Yeah, interesting division. Great. Packers defense is probably the one unit I look at, and I think that kind of determines that division. If they have a really strong unit, I think they can finish where you think they will. I don't think they will be that great, so that's why I took them where I did. Love Rashawn Gary. Quay Walker's a fun player. They do bring in Xavier McKinney, who should be nice there. I think their corners are a little lacking and should be a little better than the Mike Pettin days of them just getting fucking run down their throat over and over again. But offensively, they're still so young. I love Josh Jacobs. I thought that was a great pickup. Marshawn Lloyd there should be able to do some nice things if he can stay healthy, but it's not a proven guy still. I don't know. It's still a very young operation. Their offensive line there, Rasheed Walker, who wasn't my guy there at left tackle. Hopefully he's able to make me look like a smart person, but Elton Jenkins fought through some injuries, a big loss. They draft Jordan Morgan, Zach Tom, Josh Myers. Still so young, and there's just not really anything that is proven. I love Jaden Reed. Love what he did last year. I'm huge on him in fantasy. I've taken him in so many different formats, but just was just not overwhelmed by their unit, especially on the defensive side of the ball too. So we shall see. Moving into the NFC West, had the Niners 12-5 winning. They get everything quiet. Your favorite storyline this summer, Brandon Ayuk, stays after all the teases by Pretty Ricky, who is dead to me and dead on Twitter. Ends up staying. Trent Williams just reported.
Worst couple weeks on Twitter, Pretty Ricky or the guy who the other night completely lit the world on fire with his Florida State prediction.
Oh, I don't even see any of that. I just caught up on that stupid Florida State stuff. Pretty Ricky was much more entertaining for me. I was the fucking guy Jack at Barstool going crazy over the poop. Whatever. Who knows if we'll be alive on Sunday?
Yeah, I can't guarantee. I mean, listen, that's this division too. So, did you give your full predictions there? Sorry to have
12-5, 8-9, 8-9 for the Seahawks and Rams, who both missed. The Cardinals 7-10. So all three of those teams kind of just out. Tough division. I think they beat the shit out of each other. I had 2-4 for the Cardinals, 4-2 for the Niners, and then the Rams and Seahawks. I will be very impressed with Sean McVay if he can take them to the playoffs. Very, very impressed. Stafford has all the miles. Nakua's already banged up. Cooper Kupp has been banged up. Kyron Williams missed time last year. Aaron Donald leaving is wild. That is nuts for what their defense was and how much attention he took off of everyone else. And they sold all those picks and did all that bullshit. They are just now coming out of that from everything that they did a couple years ago. But checking out their defense, I was like, oh, boy, that front is young. Their linebackers. Can you name any of their linebackers off the top of your head?
I don't know if I can name anyone on their defense right now.
Troy Reeder. They got rid of Ernest Jones, sent him to the Titans, who was a captain. And Troy Reeder is the captain of their defense. Their other linebackers are Christian Roseboom and Omar Spites. They drafted Jared Verse, who I do like a lot. I'm sure he could be great. Their secondary is Darius Williams, Cam Curl, John Johnson, Tre'Davious White, and Quentin Lake. I don't know who the fuck four of those guys are on their defense. So, and I know everyone. So I was like, whoa, that's my blind spot. Was like, Aaron Donald's gone and they don't have shit defensively. They're going to be playing. Stafford's going to be miserable. He's going to have to score 40 points a game. He's going to have like 4 touchdown games and lose like 3 times this year, I think. So I will be floored if Sean McVay can take them to the playoffs.
I don't know what headspace I was in when I made this, and this was just a couple hours ago, so I'm not sure what was going on. I had them as the 1 seed at 12-5. Your Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, and the boys just making it happen. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp's going to come back fully healthy. I'm just, I don't know. There's something about McVay. There's something about Stafford. Freaking love them. This is just a total vibes pick. I don't know. Again, schedule. You see him in one game. It's like, oh, I definitely pick him there. I'd pick him there. I think Stafford has the edge here. I think McVay could do something here. They lost Raheem Morris too. I don't know what I was thinking. Like this is, I don't know. This is going out on a limb here with this one, but 12-5 for the Rams as the 1 seed, 4-2 within the division. Niners not far behind, 11-6. I had them as the 5 seed, 4-2. I'm expecting a little bit of a regular season drop off. Not only have they been good in the playoffs every year, they've been really good in the regular season every single year too. I think mileage can catch up to them a little bit. I wouldn't shock me to see Kittle get banged up here and there. A lot
of guys that have a lot of miles. Debo, Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, all across that offense. A lot of guys that have played a lot of very physical football. So I certainly can buy into that.
Yeah, they're playing long seasons every single year. Guys, like you said, mileage just racking up on Debo, who's a physical player, on Kittle, physical player. Trent Williams, there's been some weirdness with him. Apparently, there's some shakeups going on within the front office. Apparently, team brass not thrilled with the way that they've spent over the last couple of years. But I don't know. It's resulted in on the field success. But much as I love the Niners, I did have them as 11-6 in the 5 seed. Seahawks, our guy Mike Mack, 10-7, 3-3 within the NFC West. I had him sneaking in as the 7 seed. I think they're going to be a fun team this year. I'm excited to watch the Seahawks. I think they got the Broncos in week 1. I think that'll be a good litmus test. Can you handle kind of one of these Jag teams and make a statement on what this kind of year is going to be for you? And then Cardinals 6-11, 1-5. I could see that going a little bit better. I think Kyler Murray's going to have a nice bounce back year, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. But yeah, that's how I had it: Rams, Niners, Seahawks, Cardinals, in that order.
I think the most, I'd say the X factor, maybe not X factor, the determining coach or unit of this division, I think, is the Seahawks offense under Ryan Grubb and what he's able to do. He's been a part of that Washington team that's been really sharp the last couple of years. So if they are gonna, Geno Smith, Michael Penix was a big comp, and Geno has fucking pinpoint accuracy downfield, just like Washington had McMillan, Polk, and O'Dunes. They have a three-headed monster there. Lockett, people just forget Lockett exists and is so fucking good at football. He is getting up there, but his game translates well. He takes care. He doesn't take any hits. So Kenny Walker there, and Jigba, DK. If that is kind of the dark horse group for me, really, I'm one of the ones in the NFL. I talked about the Packers defense. I think the Seahawks offense is in that category. Geno's a good quarterback. They paid him moderately, and he seems happy. And Mike McDonald went in there, ripped everything out, took all the old shit down, and is a smart dude. So I wanted them to be a little better. I wanted to try to make myself chill on them a little bit, but very easily could see them being a 10-11 win team. Their defense should be McDonald did struggle, but I think he has so much confidence from what happened last year. They don't have the same unit. He doesn't have Roquan. He doesn't have fucking Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey and these crazy interior defensive linemen that are very versatile. But he does have Leonard Williams up there, so I think that unit will. I don't know. That really just an interesting team because they brought him in because he fucking whooped up on Shanahan and whooped up on the Seahawks and whooped up on the Cardinals. The Rams, McVay got him a little bit, but you know that Shanahan fucking hates Mike McDonald. You know that he thinks he's hot shit, and Shanahan thinks Mike McDonald thinks he's hot shit. You know he's been thinking about him since that game, so.
Mike is very clean cut, kind of, looks like he could work in a, some sort of.
He's not wearing bowling suit shoes to his team party the day Ricky Pearsall gets shot.
Yeah, he's not, and he's not wearing the flat brim hats, that the douchebag skateboarders wear. He's just not a Shanny guy. Like, he's very much on the other side of it.
He's the anti-Shan.
Yeah, he is. And listen, that's going to be interesting from a personality perspective.
So I'll be rooting for him. I hope they do some damage there, and I'm waiting on those games, but. And then Cardinals there just behind 7-10. Again, I'm looking at Justin Herbert. I'm looking at Kyler Murray. I want to see some winning football. Are you guys going to fucking win? The Cardinals, I think, have a little less talent maybe than the Chargers do. The NFC is a little weaker, though, than the AFC is. So I'm looking at you, Kyler Murray. It's time. Those two need to get it done. They're paid. Excuses are running thin here. The injuries have happened. They've got the new coaches, all that good stuff. So I'm looking at them curious. The Cardinals have been a surprisingly physical team. I think they keep kind of shocking people with how physical they play. I don't know why that is. It's transcended coaches. It's just fucking physical down there in the desert. So any of those three teams, I'm not surprised to see them with any record. Like, any of them could suck. Stafford could get hurt. Would that surprise anyone? Absolutely not. The Seahawks could struggle with a new head coach and, you could have a really shitty first 2 months or something. And the Cardinals, I don't know. Kyler is as talented as most guys are, so they could be really good too. I'm very curious to see how the NFC West shakes out, but I do think the Niners come out on top.
Absolutely. NFC South. And the Falcons taking this one at 11-6, 4-2 within the division. They were the 4 seed. They were my only playoff team from this division. I had the Buccaneers at 9-8, 4-2 within the division. Saints 7-10, 2-4. Panthers 4-13, 2-4. Feels like pretty stock. And I was very high on the Falcons last year. I think Desmond Ridder bit me a little bit, but they retained a lot of talent. I love what Raheem Morris brings to the table in his second go around here. Excited to watch this Falcons team.
Yeah, I had the Falcons winning the division as well at 10-7. I'm excited for them too. They have the safeties back there now. They've made some sneaky acquisitions on that defense. They should have a really good secondary. They're physical up front too. And with, getting a new head coach that's going to shake things up from stupid fucking Arthur Smith. They doubled down at quarterback. They have Drake London. Great. Kyle Pitts has been disappointing, very athletic, but Drake London, Bijan Robinson. I mean, there's some talent there to work with. They doubled down on quarterback, which probably came from ownership, right? It's probably like, fuck this. Why is Taylor Heineke and Desmond Ridder my starters? Like, fuck this. I want two. I want 2 quarterbacks. I want one. So, we're talking about how it's a quarterback league, and They are the definition of it. They paid Kirk all the money and took Penix so that they don't have to think about quarterback again. I think that was Arthur Blank being like, let's end this madness. Let's have one now and later. People hate on that. I don't know. I kind of like it. I think it might have been a smart move, and now they can push tools in, let Penix chill, be really healthy, no rush. Like Tom Brady said, I think I kind of forgot to finish that point, but he was like, stop starting rookie quarterbacks week 1. And then the Patriots like, okay, we have to bench Drake, man. Fuck. Okay. He's like,
Thanks,
stop
Tom.
doing that, develop them. And that's what the Falcons are doing. So I think Tom might like that, and I like it too. Bucks, I had 9-8. Panthers 5-12. Saints 3-14. Fuck the Saints. Fuck Derek Carr. Fuck that team.
I think I got Rattler coming in and getting them, 4 of these 7 wins here, possibly.
I like that. I like that. The Saints are too fun of a team to have this Dennis Allen, Derek Carr bullshit going on.
Dennis Allen is, by the way, the most just completely anonymous head coach in the league. Whenever I see, I've talked about.
I've never heard anyone talk about him before.
Yeah, whenever I see Dennis Allen on my television, on let's say it's a prime time, like Monday night game, maybe a little bit of a residual hangover going on. I'm drifting in and out of sleep on the couch. I wake up and there's just Dennis Allen on the sideline with just this, just completely just scrunched up face. Like they're losing like 24-10. It's, Alan, Chris, or I guess Alan, Mike are just trying to talk this game into being interesting. And I'm just like, Dennis Allen, like, I forget that he exists. And then he's like in this press conference a couple weeks ago asking, what is a metaphor? He says something about a metaphor. And then he asks the reporters, what is a metaphor anyway? And they like kind of explain it to him. And it was kind of like he was like trying to make a joke, but he just didn't know how. It's like maybe a certain, figure that's maybe running for vice president right now. There's just something's a little off. Like, I don't know. Dennis Allen, you got to get him out of my face. Let's get somebody excited down there.
Saints fan base does not deserve what's happening.
No, I'm a little bit of a Saints fan anyway. So we need to turn this around. That's where my roots are held on one side.
I love Dave Canales, NFL's most handsome coach. He's a handsome boy.
You love everything he had going on off the field too.
Oh yeah, the Rambler, the Gambler. I like what he was doing there with the booze and the ladies.
And listen, man. I mean, yeah, he wrote about it too. That's good vulnerability. Yeah,
but I like Canales. It's very similar to me to Mike McDaniel coming in for Tua, and for the instability that Bryce Young had last year. They're both Alabama quarterbacks. They come from that system. Nick Saban is notorious for being really nice to his quarterbacks. He is a fucking dick to everyone but his quarterback. And so then both of those guys get dropped into situations where you got the crazy owner and the crazy head coach in Brian Flores. Tua coming out and basically saying Brian Flores was like hazing him like nonstop. So Canales is the exact opposite. Baker has oozed about him, saying how he is so even-keeled, he is so positive, and there's no yelling. It is just like, next play, we're good, you're doing great. Throw a pick six, you're doing great, you're fine, next play. So that's going to be huge for Bryce Young. They go out and spend on the offensive line, try to get some weapons around. They did some dumb shit the last couple of years that didn't pay off. Everyone's always going to trace that Caleb Williams trade. Ultimately now, they could have Caleb Williams and 15 other players. Instead, they gave them all to the Bears. So I don't think they're going to be good, but I think they're feisty, and I think they are going to beat a couple good teams. I think the Panthers can beat good teams, but aren't going to be consistent enough to really push for the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Bryce Young was ever going to be like this, top 5 awesome quarterback, but it just feels like he's gotten a raw deal here. Like, I mean, he was already like a physically underwhelming prospect. He goes to the least physical, least intimidating team in the league. Not a lot of talent around him. Like, if he doesn't turn into anything, he's going to be an all-time kind of what if. Because like I said, I don't know if he's going to be like in this league of alien quarterbacks. I don't know if he was ever going to be a top 5, top 10 type guy, but I feel like he has a lot more potential. And I did like him at Alabama. So I don't know. It would be nice to see Bryce Young playing some good football this year.
Yeah, get Frank Reich out of my face as well. The ship has sailed on him. So he's out. That defense was really good. They have really strong pieces there. They do get rid of Burns. So again, not looking to go crazy this year, but I think Bryce Young's going to ball out. I think he's going to, what Jordan Love did in the second half last year. I think we see Bryce Young do something like that. I think he is a little bit more sneaky, being able to throw in some weird slots and across his body and improv. And he's a sneaky, quick guy. Is he too small? Probably, but I think he's going to ball out a little bit. I think he is more talented than people realize. And again, if Tepper fucks off, Canales is the perfect guy. I feel like Canales is the kind of guy that can deal with Tepper too, and can kind of flip his own energy back on him. From everything I've read about Canales, I've been following him a lot. He was could have been the Ravens offensive coordinator last year, which might have left him high and dry. Very well, may have left him high and dry this year. So, yeah, definitely. So I've been following him since then. Was definitely a bloomer suddenly through Seattle late, and very intrigued there. But I mean, we've talked about this division for a lot. It stinks, still stinky division. But the Bucks, I had the Bucks making the playoffs, 9-8. We love Baker. We love the Bucks. They're cool team. Ravens play there, so that'll be fun. But yeah, this division isn't going to produce the Super Bowl winner.
Yeah. All right. So with that, I had Rams 1, Eagles 2, Packers 3, Falcons 4, and then I had Niners 5, Lions 6, Seahawks 7 for your NFC picks.
Yep, I had Eagles, Lions, Niners, and Falcons, and then the wild card teams I had the boys, the Cowie boys, the Bucks, and the Packers there. So who's my new Packers made it last year? I guess Falcons are the one. So I'm probably pretty wrong about this NFC then. But kind of had that running back for the most part. Which takes us into wild card weekend. I have the Chiefs over the Bills, the Chiefs over the Bengals, the Jags over the Bills, and the Jets over the Colts. I have the Cowboys beating the Falcons, the Niners beating the Bucks, and the Lions beating the Packers. So we're sending the Chiefs, Jags, Jets to the divisional round, as well as the Cowboys, 49ers, and Lions.
I had the Chargers as a 5th seed going into Cincy and knocking off the 4th seeded Bengals. I would just hate to see that happen. Dolphins 6th seed going to Buffalo. They lose to the Bills yet again in what will probably be a frigid game that Tua just looks like he wants no part of. Texans is the 2 seed. I had them taking down the Ravens in the wild card round 2 versus 7. So that would be I'm already looking forward to the takes on that one. That'll be a fun night. NFC, I had the 49ers going into Atlanta and knocking off the Falcons. So that was 5 versus 4. 6 versus 3, I also had Lions and Packers. I had the Packers getting the win at home over the Lions. And then the 7 versus the 2, I had Eagles as 2 triumphing over the 7th seeded Seahawks, making my divisional round. Bills at Texans, Chargers at Chiefs, Packers at Eagles, and 49ers at Rams.
Love it. Divisional round. Chiefs over the Jags. Ravens over the Jets. Rematch of the Chiefs-Ravens in the AFC Championship. Eagles and Lions. Prevailing Lions over the 49ers. Eagles over the Cowboys, and that just sends Mike McCarthy into fucking oblivion. They just punt him off the earth after losing to the division rival Eagles and still not being able to get over the front there. So the Cowboys winning one game. Had them beating the Falcons. They got the Falcons, and I was like, okay, they can do that. They'll lose to them though.
He can't do anything. He might even win the Super Bowl and they might still fire him. I think he's gonna, if this scenario plays out as you have it, where they do lose a playoff game, he will have his pink slip before he's left the facility.
They will remove his head from his torso.
Yeah, no, he's done. Divisional, I had 2 Texans versus 3 Bills. I had the Texans beating the Bills in that one. So, like I said, kind of a overachieving season for the Bills ends there with the Texans kind of, sort of living up to the hype a little bit. I had the 1-seeded Chiefs over the 5-seeded Chargers, little divisional matchup there. So it's 1 versus 2 on that side. And then in the NFC, I had the Packers going into Philly and beating the Eagles. So really into this Packers team, as you're probably picking up. I had the 5-seeded 49ers going into LA, losing to the Rams at SoFi, which makes my conference title game Chiefs versus Texans and Packers versus Rams.
Packers, Rams. That would be nuts. Nutty matchup there. The coaches there would be yucking it up, trying to one up each other there with LeFleur and Miffy.
All the there's so much hair product just being used between those two men. You would have a shortage in the greater Los Angeles area.
Championship games. Ravens over the Chiefs. I'm sending the Ravens to the Super Bowl. This is the first time I've done it. I'm sending them. I believe that Lamar Jackson has climbed one rung up every single fucking year. He goes one rung up. Okay, he's not a starting quarterback. He gets them to the playoffs. He wins the MVP. He's a starting quarterback. But he's not a pocket passer. He's not accurate. He's done that. He won against the Texans. He got to the championship game. He can't do this. And then he does it. And then they say, well, now I can't do that. And then he does it. And then they can't do that. And then he does it. So He can't. Now it's that he can't beat Mahomes in the playoffs. He can't make it past the championship game. He's not Mahomes. Chiefs lost some dudes. They're kind of, I put them in that 49ers that we were talking about them. There's some miles there. Chris Jones is taking a beating. Travis Kelce is taking a whooping. A lot of miles. They've got these teeny tiny receivers and the 130-mile-an-hour man, Rashee Rice there, and Pacheco, and the offensive line is good, but they lose some players on the defensive side of the football. Spagnuolo should still have a good unit. It's a defensive program that Spagnuolo has going on there, kind of like what the Ravens have. But again, I think the whole key, I'm going to say those 5 players for the Ravens: Lamar, Linderbaum, Stanley, Flowers, and Henry. If you have those 5 guys, if they give you pretty much a good bill of health, I think this team can do it. I think Henry is a fucking shockwave. We have not seen them have this. Running back is so overrated and does blah, 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 blah. Touches the ball 200 times. So I think it's huge. Mike McDonald leaving is huge, but a lot of what has come out, it's a program. Those are 2 defensive programs. They have systems in place. So I think the defense will be good. Maybe not as good, but will be good. Dafe Oweh, another player I'm looking at that can kind of take them over the top, but I think they do it. The NFL needs that, I think. I think that fits the script as well. They kind of need the KD. They kind of need the Superman versus Batman. It's not Josh Allen. I think that's kind of faded. Is it Burrow? Maybe. Maybe it's the Bengals. I don't love their defense, but I think the Ravens can do it if those 5 guys stay healthy on the offensive side of the football. Lamar should have all the answers. Last year, they kind of got back to where they were supposed to be with him calling shit at the line and being able to have, this full-fledged offense. So now they should be a little better this season, this offseason. They can get the reps of the 2-minute drill more and the details. They should have the details dialed in.
Shout out to Mark Ingram.
Yep, absolutely. So I think the Ravens can do it. I like this team a lot.
Detail.
Oh, the detail. So I think they can do it. I really do. I think Derrick Henry is a fucking huge addition. I think, again, it's going to smack America in the face when Derrick Henry is running for 150 yards with Lamar Jackson back there. That is fucked for a defense. That is very fucked to defend. They do have some solid skill position players other than that.
We were talking about Coach Gruden on here last week. He had a nice little breakdown on Twitter about Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry.
Jay Gruden or John?
John, Uncle John.
I didn't see any of that. I'm about to look that up right now.
I think our guy Big Shot Bob tweeted it out.
What was he saying?
Essentially, it came down to, man, I'll tell you what, you got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the backfield, man. This is tough to defend because when Lamar gives off the ball to Derrick Henry, as a defender, you're looking at Lamar. And then when Lamar keeps it as a defender, you're looking at Derrick Henry. He's had better analysis than that before. Like, I'm not going to lie. It was pretty vanilla, but it was it's funny to see. Like we were saying last week, it's a shame he turned out to be kind of not a good guy because he was always an entertaining broadcaster.
For sure. He definitely got too in bed with Dan Snyder there. So, yeah, Ravens, and then the Lions. I think they're a fucking machine of talent and aggression, and again, just that defense just needs to be a little bit more exotic. They should be able to, the same way the Ravens needed to be a little bit more, they need to be a little more exotic offensively. That's where the Lions are. They've got pieces in place. Everything feels good. All of this comes down to injuries ultimately. So this whole activity we do is kind of, Aaron Rodgers' fucking Achilles blows out in the first play of the game. Suddenly, Jets aren't making the playoffs. So Lions I like a lot, and I think they almost did it last year, man. This is kind of the 2 teams that almost did. This is the almost Super Bowl, and because of that, I think that they can push themselves over the finish line because they didn't go to the Super Bowl and lose the Super Bowl, but they just got that blood. They tasted that blood. They drew blood from their opponent, the Niners and the Chiefs there. So I have them doing it. NFC champs, Lions, AFC champs, Ravens.
AFC, I had 1 Chiefs versus 2 Texans at Arrowhead. I had the Chiefs triumphing in that one. They're just going to make it a habit of going to the Super Bowl every single year. It's well-deserved, and it's hard to pick against them at this point. NFC, number 3 Packers going to number 1 Rams. I had the Packers going into SoFi and knocking the Rams off. Packers advance to the Super Bowl. Like I said, I'm bullish on this team. People getting a little too excited about these young quarterbacks. It does annoy me a little bit, but Jordan Love has been around for such a long time now. Like I said, I love the fact that they've built things up organically. I like what this coaching staff can do. And they're just one of these teams that you expect to, that I expect to make a leap here. So this kind of will be a new versus old now. The Chiefs are kind of old news at this point. You know, they, like I said, it's been like 7 years now. They've been around for a while. They're just in this game every single year, and they just find a way to get it done. So picking the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. So my Super Bowl matchup is number 1 Chiefs versus number 3 Packers. So we'll start with yours first. I'm assuming you have the Lions beating the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
I almost did. I honestly almost did, but it ended up being the Lions. I was like, they're not losing to Jared Goff. That's just that wouldn't happen. So yeah, I had the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. I didn't mean to. I didn't set that intention. The Bengals defense, I don't think the Chiefs are going to do it for the 3rd straight year. I don't think they're that good. I don't think they're that realm of good in terms of, like, I think Mahomes is. I think Reed is. I don't think the other guys are. They lose Snead. They lose a couple key players. And again, they are getting to needing to kind of have to roll over into another iteration. Their offensive line is probably the offensive line, and Chris Jones are kind of the catalyst there, I'll say. So if they get a good bill of health, they certainly can. I don't think it's impractical, but I don't love the Bills. I don't love Doug Peterson enough. I don't love, like I said, the Bengals defense. So Ravens, man. I have the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. I didn't mean to, but I do. I really do think, like I said, they have climbed a ladder. Every year they get one more rung, and maybe that would be technically losing the Super Bowl here would make more sense. Maybe, and then, oh, Lamar can't win the Super Bowl. It's like, that would be the most shut the fuck up thing of all time. But I don't know. I think he's dangerous. They're talking, he lost weight. He looks clean. He's fucking angry at practice. Like, he's locked in. The defense, you know, people say Harbaugh is, I'm sure there's that whole faction of Ravens that said not Harbaugh. Harbaugh's not the one that'll get him there. Sure, whatever. But man, I just think it's fitting with, you know, there's a little bit of spiritual aspect now that I digest it with, you know, New Orleans being the venue and Jacoby Jones passing, rest in peace. And like I said, man, I mean, they got so close. They got their taste. They went to the championship. They just have to keep hammering away. And that's what the 2012 Ravens did. Like, they weren't supposed, that wasn't supposed to be the year. It was supposed to be the year before. Here we are. It's a little too deja vu. Maybe it's a little too cute, but man, I'm fucking bullish on Lamar. I love the Henry edition, and it just comes, like I said, those 5 guys. Give me Flowers, Stanley, Linderbaum, Henry, and Lamar. If they're healthy, I think they can do it. I think this defense will be good. They have a lot of veteran leadership, a lot of talent. They have a lot of young players. They have prime players, young players. The secondary stocked. Roquan Smith is a big fucking deal. I'm looking at Odafe Oweh as somebody that needs to kind of have an all-pro year, that type of year, like we saw Matabike have. So, yeah, Ravens. I think they have a great year. They had a great year last year, and not much changed. I mean, defensive coordinator leaves, but his guy or is his guy. So should be solid there. And I think they're done. I think they're just done with the Odell 11 personnel bullshit. I think they're done with all of it. They just have to do it now. All of the things that they couldn't do are done except for that. So I think they climb at least one rung. Maybe it's losing a Super Bowl. Hasn't happened yet to this franchise. But I think they can fucking do it, man. Lamar doesn't lose many games. He's fucking amazing. So I'm excited. I think we get a joy of an opening game to see this be the game is like as big of a game as it could be. And that's why I think it's weird that there's maybe not more buzz. People are a little sour on it. Maybe it's the product. Maybe the NFL has devolved too much into just the quarterbacks.
It's just the Chiefs, man. It's just the Chiefs. Like, that's what it, like, they're sucking the fun out of this for a lot of people. I think they were talking about it on a PMT with Orlovsky today. It's just like, if Mahomes wasn't there, like, so many other people's lives would be more enriched. People would be happier. I would be a lot personally happier. If I could remove one franchise from the league right now, it would be the Kansas City Chiefs.
There you go. I mean, that's it. So somebody's got to do it again. Burrow did it once, even though, I mean, he played like shit in that game. It's kind of Lou Anarumo's unit kind of fucking what Logan Wilson pick 6? Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's what Dan was saying. Like, if you catch Mahomes having like a B- game and your guy plays like an A game, and if you have one of Lamar, Allen,
Burrow didn't even play an A game.
Yeah,
he threw 2 picks. I think he got sacked like 6 fucking times.
True.
They've had a pick 6, and Jamar Chase fucking ripped the ball away a couple times.
Yeah. So yeah, if you can manage that, all it comes down to is Mahomes, does he have an off day? And he doesn't have many of them. But if you can get them to do that, it could happen. And listen, I had the Ravens doing it last year. I had them winning the Super Bowl last year. Obviously, it got close. I had them beating Chiefs in Arrowhead in the conference championship. They got them in M&T. They didn't get it done. But, eventually, like, water finds its level. If there will be water, or there will be water if God will it. And so, yeah, it wouldn't be the most shocking thing to me in the world. I think we're in different spots with this Ravens team right now. But I'll tell you what, if they go out there and they win this game on Thursday night, I think it will be much more bullish. I think it's going to be a tone-setting performance, win or loss, no matter what. You just go ahead and show me something in that game. My Super Bowl, Chiefs versus Packers, like I said. I gave this one to the Packers.
Classic Super Bowl matchup kind of some of those original teams.
Yeah, I think that was the first Super Bowl ever, actually. So I gave this one to the Packers. I think you mentioned some of the losses on that Chiefs defense. I think Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and what they have going on with that running game in Green Bay. And with Jordan Love's ability to run the ball, I think a little bit more dynamic. And like, you're just not going to win the Super Bowl every single year. I mean, if the Chiefs do win this one, I mean, that would be quite an accomplishment, because, you're talking about one of probably the greatest dynasties we've ever seen if they manage that. It's just hard to do it every single year. So I think, Packers get a couple bounces. They win this one. Chiefs will be right back at it. Hopefully Travis Kelce will retire and go to his stupid podcast and leave us all alone for the rest of our lives. But, yeah, either way, it'll be a fun year. Got the Packers as your Super Bowl champions, which to me, that just feels right. I like it when the Green Bay Packers are winning Lombardis.
That'd be nuts. That would be nuts. There you have it, folks. I have Ravens. Jake has Packers. Man, hour 26. We did it. This is good. I know all of the defensive rosters because I kept Googling depth charts while I was doing the activity. That's why it's fun. I'm Googling coaches. I'm locked back in all the way.
No, it's too bad Madden sucks now, because that's how I used to be so dialed into all the players across the league, is I would just play hours and hours of franchise mode, and I just hate where Madden is at right now. So I've been playing a lot of CFB these past couple of weeks. But yeah, if Madden could get
you're
good.
You're locked in on CFB because you weren't last year.
No, I'm usually not. But I mean, this game, it's been a lot of fun.
Now you got the expanded play. You like the expanded playoffs, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I think it's maybe a little cute. Like, I think there's a lot of just dregs in college football. Like, there's maybe like 4 or 5 like really good teams, and the rest of them are mid to like nothing at all. So I'll be interested to see with how expanded they get. Like, are you just going to get a bunch of nothing first round games and then it starts to get really good, or are you going to get some upsets? I think if we get some good upsets this year, that'll set a really good tone for the expanded playoffs going forward. Turn it into March Madness.
Love it. Well, folks, an hour 27. You have it. We're doing a preview. We're going to be ripping. We are 2 days away. We'll be at halftime in 2 days. Just about now. Should be right about maybe just past halftime, third quarter. Ravens Chiefs. Wild to think it's here. Flew by. Feel like it was 3 months ago that we were standing where I'm standing after that game. So it has really flown by in my eyes, at least. So fired up, pumped, excited for another year. We grew so much last year, first full year, exit 52, coming over from Baltimore beatdown, and we're thrilled. So excited to get fired back up. Football is here. We're going to be having fucking home Ravens games. It's wild. It's the fastest offseason ever. Blows my mind, but excited to do it. Let's do the damn thing.
Absolutely. Thank you all for listening. As always, if you liked what you heard, please subscribe to us here on YouTube. Leave a like and a comment on all the videos. Find us on social media at Exit 52 Podcast across Twitter and Instagram. I am at Jake Louque. That's Louque. Spenny is at Ravens4Dummies. That is the number 4. You can find Brian at Barstool Banks, Taylor at Taylor Smythe 10, Eric at EDI 22. Thanks to all our sponsors: Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Black Eyed Susan Spices, Clipper City, Fed Thrill. A lot of great people getting in the mix here as we embark on a new NFL season. We're all very excited, and we'll be back to you guys very, very soon with our Week 1 preview. But until then, we'll see you.
Football is here. See ya.
Arrivederci.
Play really, really hard, and they execute the system, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, sir. Trust.
He's pretty
Big trust, baby.
Hey, yes, sir.
Right on cue. Hey, right on cue. Hey, let me.